Here we go.
Southwest A-League, Texas, throw down here. Ride through Houston, Texas, flexing, rolling through the SWAT. Repping for the city, hear 'em in the parking lot. Houston written across the jersey, ain't gon' never stop. Just fans got me tuning in, waiting for the drop. Astros, Texas, Rockets, Dynamo, they coming with it. When they pull up, got the city sitting on a fitted. Straight up A-Leaf, hold it down, ain't gon' never quit it. Just fans got me tuning in, let my dogs get it. Southwest A-League, Texas, throw down here and it's so infectious. We ride for the Houston Astros, Rockets, Dynamo, and them Texans.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. I am here joined with a good old friend of the show, Andy McNamara. If you're not too familiar with Andy from on our perspective of the Just fans, Andy was like literally our first guest that ever said yes to us to coming on the show. So like I always thank him for that. So any guest that we have gotten ever since, I always like to credit Andy because he was the first guy to ever say yes to us and just kind of hung out and we went from there. So Andy, welcome back to the show, man. A friend of the show. It's always nice to have you here, man. What you tell the folks what you've been up to and what you do, just in case.
Well, thanks, Charles. First of all, thanks, brother. It's been great chatting with you and the guys over the years, I guess now, right? So that's so I don't remember how many years, but years, and you guys do a great job and always fun chatting. So happy to get on. We mix in a little wrestling talk here and there too. So always happy to do that. Oh, you got hey, look, I got my now defunct Undisputed Elite shirt. You know.
Oh man,
it's still a great shirt. I like it. But yeah, I'm host of the Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on YouTube, and we talk. You see Brown stuff in the back, but we're not just Browns. Lots of fantasy football, which will be coming up again, crazy enough, with the rookie draft done, of course. And then lots of draft talk. Post my latest episode up now on X as well, at SickPod Browns, Instagram at AndyMC Sports. And we go through a whole bunch of draft stuff, analyze the blunders, best picks, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Please check out Andy McNamara's podcast, man. Great guy to get some good fantasy football advice from. He's one of the best out there in the game, man. So I know you talked about Browns. Let's talk. The NFL just went through to the draft. First, before obviously you know what the question is going to be, but first let me ask you how do you think? Well, if you were to grade the Browns in the draft this how would you rate them? I guess from A, B, C, or D, or F.
I am giving them a B.
Okay,
and it's a B that could have easily been an A minus. But and if you want to get it, that Dylan Gabriel pick has me still seething days later. That's why it's a B. That's the stupidest overreach I've seen since they picked Cody Kessler in the third round, who also did nothing. But otherwise, you got now. At first, I will admit they traded Travis Hunter. I did a live draft show. I was freaking out. Like, you let the best player in the draft again. All you had to do is hand in the card, hand it in. No, Browns never like good players. They like to collect picks and then screw the picks up. But they got Mason Graham, who I think is going to be dynamite beside Myles Garrett. Then you work in Quinshon Judkins, Hannon Jr., who I think is going to be Harold Fannin Jr., sensational tight end. I like the Dylan Sampson. And I'm sure we'll get to the other quarterback the Browns drafted as well.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson, I like the pick. I thought that one was pretty decent for you guys. I like Dylan Sampson out of college. So
yeah, and Judkins is a beast. Nick Chubb, not the same. If they bring him back, I hope they do just for nostalgia. But Quinshon Judkins is a workhorse out of Ohio State. I watch him very carefully. He's the more durable Ohio State back outside of Travion Henderson, who I also like, but gets banged up a bit more. You can have a real punch with Judkins. You got Sampson still there. You mix in Harold Fannin Jr., and all of a sudden you have David Njoku who's there and Jerry Jeudy, and you're looking pretty good. If the quarterback you put in out of the four were available pan out, which is a big if.
So I know you mentioned Jerry Jeudy. What is your expectation on Jerry Jeudy this season?
It really depends, Carlos. It depends solely on who's the quarterback. If it's Joe Flacco, Jerry Jeudy balled out with Joe Flacco. I'm sorry. He balled out with Jameis Winston. With Jameis Winston. But the point is, a guy who can get the ball downfield. No dink and dunkers. When Jameis Winston doesn't care who he's throwing to, he's going to get it downfield. That's what Joe Flacco does as well. Okay, you need a big arm quarterback. Flacco's that guy, even at the age of 40. Judy's going to get number one reps. I think if you get him the ball and you have a game plan to get him the ball, he can be a dynamic player. Right now, if I'm looking at fantasy, without knowing the quarterback situation. I'm going to slot him in as a WR2 until I get more clarity on what the quarterback situation is. But there is a real chance for a big season for Jerry Jeudy.
There you go. Really quick, one of our frequent followers here, Brandon, wrote, it says, hot take, Browns trade one of their potentially top 10 first next year to the Rams, so Rams can get 3 firsts. Browns then rebuild around rookie contract QBs over 2 years with 5 firsts.
Stop it, Brandon. No more picks. I want to pick players. They always look at the future. They always kick the can. It's such a cowardice way to operate. Is it like Sonny Weaver Jr. in the movie Draft Day? Kick it, magic dust, all these picks. The Browns need to pick playmakers. They could have done that with Travis Hunter. They chose not to. You get Mason Graham. You get that first next year, which is fine. The problem to me, Carlos, is this. I have zero faith, a big zero faith, in the front office of the Browns to pick quarterbacks. Here's why. The 2 quarterbacks they've drafted, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who they traded along with a 5th-round pick for Kenny Pickett. I call him Big Hands Pickett. And Dylan freaking Gabriel, who is going to be playing in the Canadian Football League before too long, I'm sure. A generously listed 5'11". That dude's closer to 5'9". Hawaiian with a noodle arm who's never played in the cold. What are you trying to do? It's Carlos, if you look at that quarterback room for the Browns, it is the most bizarre Island of Misfit Toys conglomeration that maybe I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's weird. You got Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and everybody's favorite person on Twitter is Shedeur Sanders now on there. So then you got Mr. First Dance says, "Ooh, what to do, boys? What's up?" He's a huge Titans guy. He's loving it right now. Browns are stacking them picks. Cash out huge.
I like that, Mr. First Down. I like the positivity.
And then he says, also mad respect for Jimmy Hallam. He screwed up, and then he came to Watson.
Thank you. Yes. And you know what? That was so refreshing because it means, and people say, oh, Watson's in that quarterback room. Carlos, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not, because his Achilles, he re-injured the Achilles. And if he stays injured the whole year, Browns recoup $60 million in salary cap insurance get back. Deshaun Watson ain't seeing the field, nor should he. So no, to that viewer, absolutely big credit that Jimmy has him. You don't often hear owners come straight up and like, hey, whoopsie, my bad. That's why, Carlos, that's the only reason you have Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski still employed. Only reason, because the owner said do this, they did it, and it was a debacle.
And that's what I was wondering. Like, I at first I thought it was like somebody trolling, the owner just came out and straight up said it. Like, we messed up, we dropped the ball on it, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that. At least I can't remember when an owner directly came out and said this was what do you say? We fumbled the ball or something like that. We said we took a big swing and a miss. That's what it was. Yeah, swing and a miss. I was like, oh my god, it literally went on record and said that. That was crazy. So obviously, that alone right there. So you obviously don't expect Deshaun Watson to come back at all in any form, shape, or any capacity in the Browns organization whatsoever. None.
Now he's working out at the facility rehabbing because he is on the team, and that's what you do, because that's part of what you do. You rehab out there. It's funny, the timing, and I'm sure it was inadvertent, but it almost seemed like the Browns were trolling Deshaun because Watson put out his first rehab video. It's like, the music going, oh, I'm back, I'm coming back. Then Jimmy Haslam, 2 hours later, said, not the quarterback. Then he put out another video, working out. And 10 minutes later, the Browns tweeted out, welcome back, Joe Flacco.
Wow.
They're like, guy, you done. It's, it's nearing an end of the historically, of any sport, worst trade in any sport history. It really is.
To be fair, I did. Because remember, the Texans had Deshaun Watson beforehand, so it was like,
get all my picks.
Yeah, when Deshaun, when the Browns got the picks, I think most people here in Houston were like, all right, bet, sure, here you go, and
here you go. Don't mind those 30 allegations. Don't worry about that.
Thanks for CJ Stroud. Thank you for Will Anderson. Thank you for all these picks. So Brandon says Edge duel Garrett and Abdul Carter could have been elite versus Lamar and Burrow twice a year.
Brandon, I'll tell you this. Yeah. And Carlos, I like the idea in theory, but here's the reason why it wouldn't have been, in my opinion. Because the benefit to Myles Garrett more is a penetrating defensive tackle right beside him. Garrett and now Mason Graham steamrolling that left side is more effective and helpful to Myles Garrett to get through than Abdul Carter on the other side, who was undersized to be a straight edge in the Jim Schwartz defense. In the defense they run, he's not a hand in the dirt guy. Now, Abdul Carter, make him a Micah Parsons type, versatile, moving around, put him third down rushing the pass, absolutely. But he's not he's not a Myles Garrett hand in the dirt guy. He just isn't built that way. That doesn't mean he's bad. It just means he's different and can be great in different ways. So that's why if you couldn't get Travis Hunter, I did like that Mason Graham because that was a pick that is directly going to help Myles Garrett.
Yeah, there you go. And then Brendan wrote, then George Clooney wrote a letter saying Watson was cooked.
That dude, man. Look, Watson, he's guaranteed $46 million whether he plays or not. I guess enjoy your life, dude. Like, that's it. It's not. I never blamed Deshaun. People are like, I hate Deshaun Watson. I can't hate Deshaun Watson because who's not going to take $46 million guaranteed? Of course, it's not his fault. He just stinks. He got in his head, and he stinks now. And it was. I was actually at the game versus Cincinnati in Cleveland when his Achilles exploded.
Oh man,
I saw it. It was it was wild. And he went down, and let's say this, man. It was very tough being a Browns fan with him there because he had to answer for Deshaun Watson's indiscretions. Let's say it was very uncomfortable, and it wasn't great. And then beyond that, we know this, Carlos. There have been some horrible human beings currently in the NFL and in the past. If you can play football really well, people they kind of forget it. If you're a bad dude and you suck, that's when you really get it. And that's what Deshaun Watson is, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's basically the thing of it. Now let's go to the main question with Shedeur. Okay. So I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around that. Like the Browns choosing, Dylan Gabriel before that, but it seemed like just everybody was passing him up. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, again, that to me was a shocker as far as like that the Browns were going to get him.
Terrible pick.
And then afterwards you go off and get Shedeur. Like, okay, walk me through that. What was your initial thought process? I know you told me about Dylan Gabriel, how you felt about it, but then after that, just seeing Shedeur get picked up from the Browns, like how? Yeah, go for it, man.
They traded up to get him. Now look, if you can remove Dylan Gabriel and give me a safety, which they also needed, for example, give me a safety, and then get Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, sign me up. That was a first round graded talent by most talent wise in the 5th round. Hell yeah, but you didn't address needs. So I was confused by it, but I'm still more mad about the Gabriel pick. Now the Sanders pick is confusing because again, Carlos, he's a different type of quarterback. We have 4 quarterbacks and all are different. So like, what playbook are you running? Right? Like, here's the one thing. Shedeur looked, and Dion, if you see the video where Dion said, thank you. They were humbled. And by the sounds of their interviews at the Combine where, we weren't there. Well, you were there, but I'm assuming you didn't interview Shedeur. I was at
the thing holding the phone. I haven't.
Yeah.
You said it.
Like in those private rooms, apparently he came off quite arrogant, quite smug, and they're like, all right, let's send a message to you. And they did. So if he takes it and he looked humble, and if he comes in as, look, dude, you ain't legendary, you're a 5th round pick. Go earn it and then be legendary. Okay. This could be very quietly maybe the best Browns quarterback draft pick since Baker Mayfield. Definitely. Well, I'll say definitely since Baker, and maybe the second best one in like 20 years. If he pans out how people think. So I like the Shedeur pick. I'm infuriated by the waste of a Gabriel pick because, Carlos, his grade was 6th or 7th round or undrafted. Yeah. If you wanted, you could have got him in the 7th. Yeah, you could have gone for nothing. This guy, I have never been, I don't think I've been more sure of anything in my life that this guy will not be a starting caliber NFL quarterback. Like, I am so certain He will not. And people will say this: the production in college, not that's great.
Yeah.
How many years, Carlos, do we see guys phenomenal college production, and you can just look at him and be like, that's not an NFL quarterback.
Johnny Manziel.
How about Colt McCoy? Had the most prolific, set all the records.
Yeah.
And I love Colt. And he was a great backup for a year, was drafted by the Browns. Colt McCoy didn't. Cody Kessler had a great college career. Cody Kessler, as soon as I'm like, this guy is not an NFL quarterback. And Dylan Gabriel is even less than that. Smaller, tinier, less powerful arm. The guy is destined for the Canadian Football League. That's it. It's wild.
No, I'm 100% agreeing with you. Like the fact that, you have decent talent that comes out of college, but that doesn't always translate over to the NFL. Not at all. Like it's not guaranteed. That's the thing. It's not guaranteed to do that. Texans had Kenyon Green, offensive lineman who on Texas A&M, he's looked pretty good on tape. Came into the Texans system, and he was supposed to be, one of those top offensive linemen or whatever. Yeah. But then it just never panned out. They traded him last season, and it was like, and the Texans. I can't remember who they could. I think that was we talked about this. The guys, and I think they could. One of them mentioned, the Texans could have gotten Kyle Hamilton from how do you call it, and the Ravens got him, but they decided to choose Kenyon Green over, and it didn't pan out. I may be wrong now, but I can't remember. I think that's what we were talking about, and so it was that Kenyon Green is the latest one that I can think of at the moment for if you're looking at the Texans side that is an example of decent in college, but then it didn't translate over in the NFL. Now maybe wherever he's maybe in a new system it might work, but as far as in the college, as far as with the Texans, it just didn't work out. And so it is what it is. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it works out, and then sometimes it doesn't. But that's the thing, it's not always guaranteed.
Yes, I at least want to see first steps to the measurables, and especially for quarterbacks, right? And there's so many behind the scene things. Is the guy a party or whatever, right? Like the thing is, are there the measurables? CJ Stroud coming out. I told him right away. I'm probably on your show, on my show, and across the country shows I go on. I said CJ Stroud. If CJ Stroud's not the first overall pick, it's laughable. And look at White Bryce Young. Bryce Young's getting slightly better. Great. Yeah. He's playing like a third round pick. I said CJ. Why? CJ Stroud's built like an NFL quarterback. They're not all the same. They're not all you can have small, but this guy's under 6 feet. There's been one Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is as wide as a freezer. Okay? Dylan Gabriel is tiny. The measurables aren't there. They're not there. It's not going to happen. And that's why for a third round pick in the NFL, you're supposed to get someone who could start. You could have got a safety, needed that. Could have got an O-line, could have got that. By the way, I like what your Texans did. Speaking of offensive line, I like that Ursary pick out of Minnesota. I like him a lot. And one of my combine crushes coming out, Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State.
Oh, that was a good one. I like that one. I think
I'm in love with Jaden Higgins. I'm in love with that guy. I absolutely love that player. And when the Texans picked, I was like, let's go, CJ.
Dude, that's another big body receiver for CJ to target,
Yes.
Nico Collins. Now you got Jaden Higgins, and then they also got Jalen Nico also. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, there was so many Jalens that the Texans have now in the roster, and they're all spelled differently. It's hilarious. They even made a joke about it. But
I saw that. Yeah, there's Jalen Reed you guys drafted, Jalen Smith, the corner, Jalen Knoll.
Gave us all the Jalens. I saw some comments say, if your name is Jalen, put on a strap on a jersey and go straight to NRG Stadium. You might get a gig. But it's a Jalen's. But and then we got Jalen Petrie and the Texan safety. Jalen Petrie is another one. So you got all the Jalen's happening. But
you got all the Jalen's,
man. I think the Texans did decently with their draft. I know a lot of people were pretty. I think how it was perceived as the Texans, they needed to get an offensive lineman. They do. They still need to get. But I think they were targeting there were rumors right before the draft. They were trying to go for Kelvin Banks out of UT, and then I think the asking price was just more. Nick Caserio, has he has a tendency of low risk, high reward type mentality. So I don't think he was going to spend, whatever they were asking for. He could have included, I don't know how many picks or whatever. And I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think another guy they were looking at was Tyler Booker, but the Cowboys took him. And I think same thing, maybe the asking price.
Hard.
Then after that, I know they were looking for Donovan out of Ohio State. And Jackson, there you go. Jackson, they were looking for him. They were looking at him, I think. And then he got right before the Texans picked, Minnesota took him. So I think those were the three guys that they were looking for. But then, they traded down. They traded with the Giants, and they traded back to the 34th pick in the second round and got Jalen Higgins. So that, I'm content with that pick. I think that area of concern was addressed. I think that, and that's fine. I think it's just now the O-line still will be an area of concern, but new offensive coordinator. I think the Texans are going to see what they're about and maybe how this offensive scheme goes down.
And Ursary, I think, look, I don't think he's going to be anointed as a starter right away, but I think you could build him. He's a massive humanity, 6'6" and change. Exactly, Brandon. Yeah, he's a beast. Guy's a monster. Now, some of the word against him is, if you're that big, sometimes the lateral movement, you got a quick guy, not as good. But I could think maybe he's a little bit like DeJuan Jones, who the Browns drafted last year, who with great coaching, I don't know what the Texans O-line coach is, if he's revered or not, but if he's good, you can work on that. If Ursary is willing, you can work on that. So I think the talent is there, and it's a bit of a project, but I like the pick, and I think he could be a plus add.
Yeah, I think so too. Ursary, I was looking more of his highlights. He's done pretty good. So I think, I think he's going to do a pretty good job, with CJ. I'm hoping so that it just meshes well because the offensive line has been kind of a mess like that for the longest time, and so hopefully that they take care of it. That's what I'm hoping for. But I think, I think it's last season it was just a mess. CJ could barely hold on to the ball for like 3 or 4 seconds before it was like two dudes on him. So it's just and
that's why we saw the bit of the dip from Stroud. But I have to tell you guys, he's the real deal. You add a guy like Higgins, and you just gotta give him a bit of time, and you gotta. I feel if you have the offensive line, this drove me nuts several times with the Browns last year. Now they're going back to the what worked, the Stefanski system, that Kubiak adjusted system is. I would always, especially with the bad O-line, always have an option to get the ball out quick. What did Tom Brady do? He had terrible offensive lines, but you never noticed it because he had who? Danny Amendola. Who's the other little guy?
Wes Welker. Check down plays.
Yeah. And then what happens? Of course, check. All right, guys, move up, and then you have the one big one, right? And you get it, and go.
It says Ursary was 10 seconds of a half inch off joining the elite group of 4 OTs. We made up of Will Campbell, Amon, and Trent Williams and Tristan. Okay.
I like the guys.
The more film I see on him, I'm like, okay, I like the pick,
Yeah, and again, he's got some work to do. He's got to get a bit more bend in the knee. He's got to work on the lateral. When you get those quick guys, you don't want to go and buy it. But if you're coachable, I don't know the person, but if you're coachable, you can fix that. You can move. Maybe he needs to drop a few pounds. Maybe he needs to work on whatever the footwork. These are professional coaches who get paid. If he's a willing student, I think it's a real nice pick. And he certainly, look, you can hopefully, if you're willing, you can teach footwork. You can't teach 6'6", 310 or whatever he is, right? Can't teach that.
No, 100%. Strausser was the coach last season with the Texans. He was let go along with Bobby Slowick. And so now I think this season the approach might be where Nick Caley's the new offensive coordinator and former assistants former assistant offensive line coach Cole Popovich is now the man like coaching the O-line for the Texans. So I see some good benefits there. So I'm optimistic, to see what they do. And I think, now they might move into more of like possibly like how the Rams do their offensive scheme as opposed to, like what the 49ers system was or whatnot with Bobby Slowick. So I like it a little bit more spread formation or whatnot. So I think, and then I think I was reading that they're looking into giving CJ a little bit more command of the offense as well. So that's always a positive.
Year 3, let's go, right? Like, have him do it. He's going to be more comfortable. I hope the chemistry with him and Jaden Higgins is money right away, because I'm excited about that combo. I'm excited about that combo, man. That's good. And I like your safety, Jalen Reed, as well, as a later pick, 6th round. Again, you add depth guys who have positive traits at that stage in the draft that you think you can groom. Maybe starts on special teams, work into the rotation, and things you can add up. And sometimes you get surprised. I think Reed could be one of those nice surprises.
No, agreed. Before I let you go, as I know you gotta go.
Yes.
What is something that you are really optimistic about the Cleveland Browns this season? Like, what are you mainly looking forward to?
Oh, let me think. Okay, I'm optimistic that we're going back to the Kevin Stefanski offense that worked under Baker, that worked with Joe Flacco in 2023. The run first, 2 tight end set, moving the offensive line like a picket fence. And I think they added the right running backs. You added a stud tight end. So I think it can work. I think the defense definitely got better. You had Schlesinger as a linebacker as well, who's a dog. So it's there. The opportunity is there. The question, Carlos, is who the bleep is playing quarterback? Until I know that, I can't be incredibly optimistic in it. I hope it's Flacco to start. You have Shador number 2, and then Kenny Pickett 3. Dylan Gabriel shouldn't even be on an NFL roster, in my opinion. And if he is, if that dude's even a 3rd and not a practice squad at best, a 3rd, then it's just the front office trying to not make themselves look dumb. Because that was the stupidest reach pick of the entire draft, without a shadow of a doubt.
All right, man. Andy, it's always a pleasure to have you, brother. I appreciate you. I gotta have you in somewhere down the line in the season and just kind of catch up and see how.
Yeah.
How doing, man.
Well, heck, man, you know what? When we get closer to fantasy football draft time, let's do a little fantasy talk.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah.
As you can see, I'm wearing my Penta shirt here.
Yeah.
That's my guy. I'm always rooting for Penta over there.
Love
so,
Penta.
Did you like WrestleMania? Did you like it?
I did. It's still, man, the 2 days is too long for me. It's too long.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
But you know what? I get to fast forward. It's like, yeah, it's too much. But I did overall. I was a bit confused why The Rock didn't show up at all, because that seemed like a wasted, weird storyline. And the main event is a bit of a basic kerfuffle that, it didn't feel special. I've seen that finish dozens of times.
Yeah.
Right. I really like the was it the Seth Rollins the triple threat.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
That was a good one.
I like that. I thought too the Intercontinental match was good too. The
Dominic was good to get that one. I thought that was good for Dominic.
Rob Breaker with that 45 angle spear. Hey. What a freaking monster.
Breaker, the fact that he's now with the Heyman guys, that's gonna uplift the career. That right there cemented. That's gonna be it. I like that.
That might have been my favorite part of Mania, because then Heyman turned, you had Seth, and then Breaker as the hitting guy. I'm like, oh, now what type of state? What are we building now? Now my mind starts going, right. So that was
a mini evolution. Yeah, it's like an evolution. It could be. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Andy, thank you so much for joining us, brother. As you can see, his Twitter handle is @AndyMC81. Tell us about remind us about the handle again for people to follow you on the Sick Podcast.
Yes, sir. Yeah, on Twitter, on X @AndyMC81, the show @SickPodBrowns, Instagram and TikTok @AndyMCSports. Also, if you're a horse racing fan, and even if you're not, there is something you guys have to check out. I put some wrestling flair into it. It's pinned on my Instagram @AndyMCSports and on TikTok. @MyRailbirds. We do a Kentucky Derby draft in the NFL style, and I may or may not be bringing out some wrestling themed persona in it. Worth the watch. I'll just say that. Right. Check it out.
Thank you, sir. All right, man. Andy, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Enjoy your time, and we'll see y'all during the season. All right, settle. Me other brother. Have a good one, bro. Bye. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us today. I did a solo. Obviously, I was solo today with Andy McNamara. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Always good to hear from somebody else's perspective, right? So just follow us here at the Just Fans Pod. As you can see right down there, subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. @JustFans22. And of course, follow us on our Instagram account at JustFansPod. That'll be it for us. We'll see you again next Monday. Peace.
Southwest A-League, Texas, though down here and it's so infectious. We ride for the Houston Astros, Rockets, Dynamo, and them Texans. If you ain't never been down here, but rule number one, you gon' respect us. Just fans in my speakers, new one drop, they bout to bless us. I might right through the SWAT, playing just fans right through your spot.